Boker Tov lekulam. It gives me great pleasure to say a couple of words, a couple of comments on this Chag. I want to wish everybody Yom Haatzmaut Sameach. Soon we're going to be reading Hallel, and in the Hallel we say, Ze Hayom Asa Hashem Nagila V'nismecha Bo. This is the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made. Nagila V'nismecha Bo. Let us be glad and let us rejoice in this special day, this historic day. Whenever we speak about Yom Haatzmaut and about this period, we always refer to it as a time of Geula, of redemption, or Atchalta de Geula, the beginning, the throes of redemption. And of course, it's based on the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, that the Gemara over there says that the Geula will come at the end of 7,000, at the end of 6,000 years. And the Gemara then speaks about that we make a bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Ga'al Yisrael, in the Shmoneh Esrei on the 7th, and the 7th millennium. And the Gemara wants to know, why is it that if the Geula is going to start really in the 6th and go a little bit into the 7th, and ultimately Mashiach comes in the beginning of the 8th, why is it that we say Geula, Baruch Atah Hashem Ga'al Yisrael, in the on the 7th bracha of the Shmoneh Esrei? And the Gemara answers, because the wars that are going to happen in the beginning, in the 7th millennium, the beginning of the 7th millennium, that is Atchaltat Geula. And that's why when we speak about this period, about coming back to Eretz Yisrael, accompanied with all the wars and the struggles and the heroism, it's not just a poetic expression to speak about this time of wars and struggles and confrontation as being Atchalta Geula. This is exactly the definition as is mentioned in the Gemara. And I wanted to maybe bring another explanation of the concept of Geula, and to relate it to a little bit to our times, to the 72nd birthday of Medinat Yisrael. The book of Shmot is called by the sages a Sefer HaGeula. The book of the Exodus is called the book of redemption. And the Ramban wants to know, why is it called the book of redemption? The problem that he's addressing is that the book of Shmot ends off with 4 parshiyot, Truma, Tetzaveh, afterwards Kitisa in the middle, Vayakel, Pekudei. Those 4 parshiyot, which are a culmination of the book of Exodus, the book of Shemot, they deal with the building, the instructions and the building of the Mishkan. So what's that got to do with Geula? After all, the redemption and the taking out of the Jewish people from Mitzrayim ends off in Parshat Beshalach of Kriyat Yamsuf. If you want to add on another parsha, and that is the parsha of Matan Torah, because the whole point of Yetziat Mitzrayim was that the Jewish people would get the Torah. Okay, that's well and done. That's understood. If you want to now elaborate and stretch it a little bit for that Parshat Mishpatim, which deals with the various laws, that also now is a continuation of a Matan Torah. But what is over here, the Parshiyot, which are got to do with the building of the Mishkan, why is that part of Sefer HaGeula? And the Ramban explains that, you know what Geula means? Geula means is that when things were restored to the way that they were in the time of Abraham. What does that mean? It means when the Jewish people restored their level of spirituality and living, and they came to the Madrega of Abraham Avinu. They reached the level once upon again, the level of the Avot, and the Shekhinah rested with the Jewish people in the tabernacle, in the Beit in the Mishkan. That's when we can speak about Geula. So Geula is not only when there's the physical redemption of coming to Eretz Yisrael, coming out of Egypt, but when they achieve that perpetual state of having the Shekhinah with them, that is called Geula. That is called redemption. It might not be the ultimate redemption, but that is the redemption. So the first concept, though, that definition, according to the Ramban, is that the concept of Geula, of redemption, is to restore things how they should be, to restore things as they should be, as they ought to be. And the Jewish people were restored after the building, the going out of Egypt and the Mishkan, that the Shekhinah would be with them. And that is how things should be. That's how they reached the level of Abraham Avinu, that the Shekhinah then was with him and with Yitzchak and with Yaakov. So when we speak about Yom Haatzmaut being a time of Geulah, the Jewish people, till the coming back to Medinat Israel, were in an absurd, abnormal, literally an abnormal time in which we weren't in our land. That is totally abnormal, not only abnormal, totally unnatural. I don't want to elaborate over here on expressions from the Midrashim and the Vilna Gaon and others, that we were basically like we were basically rotting in a kever, in some sort of a cemetery. That's how they looked at the whole period of the Galut. And as I said, I don't want to go into the whole inyan of their definition. And now, when we've come back to Eretz Yisrael, there's been, so to speak, a form of restoration. A restoration to get back to normalcy. What does it mean to restore the situation in which the Jewish people are in their land? And that is called Geulah, according to the Rambam. And the point that I'm trying to emphasize in all this is that many times people think about Geulah, redemption, that we're speaking about progress. And I'll get to that. But it's not really about progress. First of all, the most basic concept of Geulah, of redemption, is restoration. And that's why we speak about if a person was married and they, God forbid, tragically, the husband passed away with not leaving any heir. So then the brother of the deceased has to do yibum with his with his sister-in-law, and to continue the name of his brother, the deceased brother, and the brother of the deceased, he's called a goel. He's called a redeemer. That's how Boaz was called. He performed a quasi type of yibun with Ruth, and the pasuk refers to him as a goel. Why is he goel? Because he's restoring things to how they should be, how they ought to be. And there's a restoring now of the brother, right? That he's restoring the family, he's continued, so to speak, the family of the deceased brother, that he should also have some sort of continuation in this world. So the concept of Geulah means the restoration, and how much do we have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for having taken us out of this unnatural, totally abnormal situation where we were in the Galut, and now slowly but surely HaKadosh Baruch Hu is restoring us to how things should and ought to be. And here I come to the second part now of what I wanted to say, and that is that, when we speak about restoration, what is our point of restoration? How far back do we want things to be restored? So we want things to be restored like they were in the time of David HaMelech and Shlomo. We want that the things that there will be a kingdom over here, a state in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, and that's how he wants, and that's how it will be. It might take a couple of more years, but that's how it will be. And that's what the prophets have told us, that there will be a kingdom over here. There will be a government over here. There will be a state over here which reflects everything of the Torah. And there was at that time. That there was a time in the time of David and Shlomo where everything was according to the Torah. So we're not asking that the restoration should be that we'll go now in carriages. There will be cars, there's planes, etc. But there will be a restoration in the sense that our spiritual, our cultural, and all our values will be once again like they were, not in an academic sense, but they actually physically were, that there was a king, a prime minister, let's call him, Shlomo HaMelech, who ran a superpower called Israel, and we weren't just one big yeshiva. Yes, we were a state, and that state functioned under Shlomo according to the halacha, and that's what we are waiting, that restoration will happen. And every single year, that restoration, that point of restoration of Geula becomes closer to being materialized. Every single Yom Haatzmaut, Michael Ortman always reminds me of it. If you look and listening to this clip, Michael, so then you know what's coming already. I always tell the story about Rav Kahneman, the Rosh Hashiva of Ponevezh, in the 1950s. He was asked by some Talmidim, how does he look at the state of Israel? As the cup being half full or half empty? And Rav Kahneman said to him, said to the questioner, he said to him, I'm just happy that there is a cup. Because you see, Rav Kahneman, he belonged to that generation in which there was no Medinat Israel. And he and many other Gdolim were just great and just grateful, were so full of thanks and hoda'ah and gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we have come to a place, come to a point in time, we've been restored, that first of all, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a cup. But I think that now that things have changed a little bit. And now we are already 72 years into the beginning of Medinat Israel. And now you can hear voices from all segments of Israeli society that it's not enough to have a cup. Now what we're trying to do is we're trying to put the correct content into that cup. Everyone, I'm not saying everyone, but you can see that in the internet there are all sorts of gematrias on 72. One of the gematrias is that 72 is the same as chesed, loving kindness, compassion. And yes, that's true. We met the first 72 years of the state of Israel. Let's call them an absolute gift. We had to pay a lot for that gift, and we had to put a lot of effort into that gift, and a lot of people lost their lives for this gift, and it was a nefesh, but it was basically all a gift. It was chesed. And we know that after chesed, there's always a period of gvura. After a period, after miracles of Yetziat Mitzrayim, always starts the period of the Sphira. It's always a period of din. Din is of justice, in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, look, I gave you now matana, I gave you a gift. Let's see, what do you do with this gift? And so what we start is from the period of Pesach, Matan Torah, we count the Omer, and we try to improve ourselves, and we try to do something with this gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us for almost for free. And that's what's happening now with Medinat Israel. You can see that all the problems, all the issues of Medinat Israel are now no longer, they are, of course there's Inyanim Bitachon, but the question is, what do we want to put now into the cup that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us? And here we like to end off that what we want is obviously what the Torah wants. And when we daven, we always daven at the end of Eicha, when we speak about the destruction of the temple, the destruction of Medinat Israel as it was there. And we end off Eicha with a famous pasuk, Hashivenu Hashem Elecha v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem. Have you ever thought of that pasuk, the last part of the pasuk? Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Renew our days like that of old. What does it mean? Do you hear the dialectical problem of these words? Chadesh yameinu kekedem. How can we want that Hashem should renew our days like old? If they're old, they're not renewing. And if they're renewing, they're not old. How do you understand this expression, Chadesh, that we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chadesh yameinu kekedem? And what Rav Kook explained was that Chadesh yameinu kekedem means is that we want the old in the form of a new. Let me give you an example which some of the Talmidim of Rav Kook and others said. Let's take, for example, the institution today of Hesder. Hesder is where people, religious soldiers, what they do is they learn in yeshiva, and they combined the learning of the yeshiva with Torah, the learning of Torah together with service in the army. They combine the two, and how much do they combine? That depends on every individual. There are people who learn for 10 years and then they go to the army for a certain, only about 6 months, and the people who do learning for 2 years and then they go for a year and a half to the army, etc. There's lots of combination. This Inyan, when the Hesder movement started in the 1950s, found with the late Gaon, our teacher, Rabbi Goldwicht, Zechet Tzadik Livracha, there was a lot of, he was attacked that this was not the original way that people learn. In fact, even in Merkaz Arav, the attitude was always, Rav Kook was the Zionist of the Zionists, but their attitude was, you do either this or that. We want you to go to the army, but when you're in yeshiva, you're in yeshiva. When you're in the army, in your army. You don't put the yeshiva and the army together. But when we look historically speaking, the Hesder is a form of Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. The soldiers of David HaMelech who went out to fight. Those soldiers the soldiers then who kept Torah. What was their mode of living? What was the way in which they were soldiers? The Vadai, that was Hesder. So Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem means that we had a certain way of living. It was lost. And now what we're doing is we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should renew it in a current way, in a modern way, to modify something that was always there, Mikedem, to begin with. And that's our prayer now, that as HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this cup, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this restoration, the beginning of the restoration which happened 72 years ago, and more than 72 years ago, from the time of Atchalta de Gula, is from the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and every single year closer and closer to the materializing of Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. I want to wish you all a Chagu Geula, Yom Haatzmaut Geula Sameach, that we should all be zocher to live in the palace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his palace over here in Eretz Yisrael, according to the Torah and Yerushalayim, and that we should be a Kiddush Hashem and a Or LaGoyim to ourselves and to all the nations of the world, and wishing you all a happy and a glad and meromem, an uplifting Yom Haatzmaut. Kol Tov.